Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master of Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode number 148, and I want to talk to you about the difference between counting points and being connected to yourself. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Guess where I am? I am in Florida, so I am actually getting this recording done before I leave. And I have something special that I want you to hear again. And it's an interview that I did with Jody about a year and a half ago. And I talk a little bit about myself and where I was and where I've come from. And a lot of people don't know that about me. So I think it'd be really interesting to hear a little bit about my journey and then hear the interview with Jody because I think she really comes up with some nuggets about the work that I do and my concepts about losing weight. So enjoy the interview and I'll talk to you next week.
So, my good friend, Deb Butler, I'm so excited to have you on here for many reasons. I want to tell my listeners just a few reasons why I'm thrilled that you're here, and then I want to let you talk more than me. But I love, first of all, that you are an expert in weight loss. You are trained at the life coach school like I was, right? But you specialize in weight tools, which I love. And I know a little bit, I've taught a little bit on it, but nowhere near the depth that you have. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be fun. I'm excited for people to hear about that. The other reason I'm going to have Deb tell you guys more about herself in a minute, but I just want everyone listening to know, how long have you been a coach, Deb?
I've been a coach for around 10 years now.
Around 10 years. So yeah. I've been doing this almost 4 years, and Deb is a master coach at the Life Coach School. So she is highly trained. She even helps train other coaches like myself who are a little bit newer. So we're really fortunate to have her here today. Before we have her tell us more about herself, Deb, I was wondering if you could just start out and teach us maybe something about why the brain and what's happening in our minds is such an integral part of losing weight.
Well, I think that's a good question because a lot of people think that the mind doesn't have anything to do with it, and all they really have to do is do the right things in order to lose weight, eat less and move more, which we all know that's what you need to be doing.
Right.
But what happens over years of eating for other reasons than physical hunger, the brain starts to become wired to believe that when there are emotions going on, the way to deal with emotions is by numbing them with food. So women who have been struggling with food for a really long time have this in their brain that whenever I'm feeling emotional, all I need to do is go and eat. And this becomes very automatic in the brain. And when women get into menopause, emotions get a lot stronger, and anybody in menopause knows that. But if what you've been doing your whole life up to this is believing that food will make you feel better, then this becomes a real problem. And one of the tools that I really love to teach, it's my favorite tool, and it seems so simple, and yet applying it, if your brain has been wired to believe that eating is going to help you feel better emotionally, the most simple tool I use is called the physical hunger scale. And I know many other different types of associations. I know Weight Watchers uses it because I used to be a lifetime Weight Watcher member. But the physical hunger scale basically just is, you can imagine a scale in your mind that goes from a -10 to a +10. And a -10, you're starving, and a +10, you're stuffed. And most of us can imagine that. And for myself, if I were giving you an example, I would say like a -10. I'm not sure if I've ever been a -10, but I know that I would probably be beyond cranky and I wouldn't be able to think, and I would probably want to hurt somebody.
Hangry. It's called being hangry.
Hangry. Have you ever been hangry before, Jody?
Yes, I think I have.
Yeah, I bet. But you know, that -10, I mean, that's really what you call hangry.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other spectrum is a +10, and +10 is stuffed. And my best example, I totally get a +10, is on Thanksgiving, I would be so stuffed that I would have to take my clothes off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if anybody else has been in that situation where you either have to unzip your pants or take
Oh,
your belt
yeah.
off, take your clothes off.
Oh, totally. You have to wear stretchy pants to Thanksgiving
Stretchy
dinner.
pants. Stretchy pants. So, but so that is the -10 to a +10. And there's a lot of numbers in between. And what I recommend when I'm working with women is that we want to start eating at a -2 and stopping at a +2. And that means that if it goes all the way to a -10 and a +10, that you're really starting to eat at a whisper of hunger, and you're really stopping to eat at a whisper of fullness. And it's really what we call satisfaction. But for most of us, we don't know what satisfaction really is. We think a +8, a +9, a +10 is satisfaction. And it's really that, I think, the fine tuning of the scale, imagining it in your mind every single time you sit down to eat, is how hungry am I and how full am I? And the most interesting thing about this tool when you're in menopause is that the biggest thing about menopause is from the time that you're 20 till the time that you're 50, your metabolism decreases probably by about 30%. And what that would mean that if you kept eating the same amount of calories at 20 years old and you kept eating that same way up until 50, you would have easily have gained 30 pounds without really changing anything other than eating the way you used to eat. And if you're listening and you really understand this physical hunger scale, then what happens is as your metabolism decreases, your appetite decreases. If you're paying attention to your hunger scale, you automatically start eating less, which is why not everybody in menopause gains weight. Now, I want to say for sure that there are exceptions to this rule, that when women get into menopause, sometimes it's just a hormonal imbalance. They never had a weight problem before. They get into menopause and they're having problems with their weight due to an imbalance. And that's not really what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
I'm talking about women who have been struggling their whole life with their weight, and then they get into menopause and it makes it harder than ever. And it's really a wake-up call. And if you understand the physical hunger scale, which you can learn at any time, to really understand what appetite really means, not what points are, like not how many points you can eat at a meal, or not how many calories you can eat at a meal, but when your body says feed me and when your body says stop feeding me is so much more accurate than any diet. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love that. It sounds it's simple, but not easy, right? So Dr. Deb Butler here, you guys, today on the podcast, and you're talking about menopause because that is one of your areas of expertise, is you work with women who want to lose weight, who have been struggling for a long time, who are in menopause. You work with a lot of people losing weight, but that's one of your areas of expertise, right?
No, absolutely.
Before I have you teach us something else, could you tell my listeners a little bit more about who you are, what is your background, and what brought you to doing what you're doing today?
Well, I am a chiropractor, and that's why I'm a doctor. And I practiced chiropractic full-time for 30 years and switched careers in about my 30th year of chiropractic and became a life coach. And the reason that I did that, and the reason that I ended up working with women in menopause, is because as a chiropractor, I knew everything there was to know about nutrition and consult people on it. And yet I had a consistent weight issue for 25 to 30 years. I was a lifetime Weight Watcher member. And what that meant, a lifetime Weight Watcher member, because somebody goes, oh, that means you were really successful. But really what a lifetime Weight Watcher member was for me was that I would go to Weight Watchers when it was time to lose weight, and I would stop when I got down to my goal weight. And my goal weight lasted a day.
Dang it.
A whole day, and I stopped going until I gained my weight back, and then I would go back again. And I did that. I figure I must have lost and gained 250 pounds at least in my lifetime. And what I have learned to do expertly at that time is I had learned how to follow other programs. especially points, but I've done calories. I have tried everything to lose weight. And it never occurred to me until I became a life coach and a weight coach about, hey, maybe I should listen to what my body is saying. I had no confidence that I would even know what that meant. And I will tell you this. I will tell you this, Jody, because this is sort of funny, that when once I became confident and I became a weight coach, the hardest thing for me to do was to throw my lifetime Weight Watcher card away. It was the biggest moment of my life.
Why is that, do you think?
Because in my mind, and this is just a mind thing, is that as long as I had that card, I knew that anytime I needed to lose weight, I had a place to go because I had more confidence. This is just a thought process and this is just a mind game. But many women are like this. I had more confidence in Weight Watchers and that Weight Watcher card than I had in my own self. And
that's just not only great work for your health and your weight and your body, but for yourself overall and your relationship with yourself, right? Your confidence.
Confidence is the most important thing. And to think, I can't tell you how many brilliant women I work with. I mean, successful, brilliant women, doctors, lawyers, CEOs who have so much confidence in themselves in so many fields. And yet, when it comes to this issue, they feel like children again, and they feel like they need somebody to hold their hand and tell them what to do. And I will tell you really quickly, I went out to dinner with a bunch of brilliant, smart women, and the waiter brought a bread basket. And this is what these brilliant, smart women did. They said, don't put that bread basket next to me. And then they kept passing the bread basket because nobody wanted it next to them because they did not feel confident that they could trust themselves not to eat all the bread. So finally I said, pass the bread basket over to me. I'll hold it because I had confidence in myself.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. And so now you don't have to keep losing that weight over and over again. You're just healthy.
I haven't been on a diet in about 15 years now. 10 years. Awesome. It is so awesome.
And you can hold the bread basket and not worry that you
I can hold the bread basket or I can keep the dessert next to me. The saddest thing is that these women, and I was just like that, just move it away from me because if it's too close to me, it's going to end up in my mouth. Like women have these belief systems when they've been struggling with weight their whole lives. They have this belief system that they can't trust themselves around certain foods. And if the foods are too close, they don't have any control. And if they've been doing that their whole lives, and then they hit menopause where emotions become a lot stronger, then it becomes more evident to them, but they think it's more of a problem.
That's so fascinating. So help me out with this scenario, if you would. So one of the things that you were talking about earlier about just eating when there's a little bit of hunger and stopping when you're just a little bit full, just satiated, right? And listening to your body. And I understand that. And sometimes I do that well. And then other times what I find is I can recognize when I'm full and then I should stop eating. And then I feel very disappointed because eating more food or eating whatever I was wanting to still eat, I was looking forward to her. I know, like you say, eating the food, people always say eating food doesn't make you feel better. And I'm like, yes, it does. It makes me feel a lot better temporarily, of course, and there are negative consequences on the other side. But what do you have people do with that disappointment when they're like, oh, I'm full, I'm supposed to stop?
Yeah, I can really relate to that. And I always think of it when a really great movie is ending and they're rolling.
Yeah. Right? Yes. Oh, it's over. I have to go back to my real life.
Yes, it's like that. And one of the things that I do is I also teach an emotional hunger scale too, which has the same numbers as the physical hunger scale. So it goes from a -10 to a +10. And the -10 are the strongest negative emotions that you can feel. And the +10 are the best positive emotions that you can feel. So something like disappointment would be in the negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have my clients do is to start recognizing that they're feeling something like disappointment and how it feels in their body and how much they want to fulfill that emotional desire with food, and recognizing that it's not physical hunger. So, since most people who come to me, they want to pay me money to help them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so what I say to them is then the first thing that you have to do is you have to recognize what it is that you're thinking if you know you're not physically hungry. And the recognition that you're not hungry is the first step. Because even though you are recognizing that you're disappointed, Jody,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to say to yourself, but I know I'm not hungry. That step, because otherwise what the mind starts doing is mixing up disappointment and making it feel like it could be actual physical hunger.
Yes,
And,
that's true.
and for most women, that when they feel disappointment, for me, most of my negative emotions are around my stomach.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those physical negative emotions that are felt in the stomach can easily be confused for physical hunger if you're not being aware and you're kind of playing around.
Mm.
I call it kind of playing around with the thoughts and convincing yourself that instead of disappointed, I'm still hungry.
Yes, I love that. I'm disappointed, but I'm not hungry. You're right. It does. It feels similar.
But this is the thing too, is since most of these women are hiring me, right? And they really want to get this. And the only reason I'm saying that is because the reason they're hiring me is because they are already disappointed. They're very disappointed in themselves. And I'm going, what is the truth here? Are you disappointed because you want to keep eating when you're not hungry? Or do you think that if you keep eating when you're not hungry, that's what's causing all this disappointment? And that if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be disappointed anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. I just had like a little mind blow moment when you said that. You're right. That is why we're like, they're really disappointed in the rest of their life and the way they think about themselves and everything else, right?
The big picture. Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
so what would you rather do? Stop eating when you're physically hungry. Tell yourself that I promise, sweetheart. And I love people to talk to themselves like that. My sweetheart. Call yourself sweetheart, because I think that most of us in the beginning don't even know how to be kind to ourselves. I don't think that's how we talk to ourselves. And I don't know what kind of words we use, but I don't think they're nice.
Right.
So I like to say, okay, sweetheart, I know you've really been used to wanting to eat more and feeling like it's disappointed. You're disappointed. But really what will happen is, I promise, anytime when you get hungry again, you can eat some more.
That's great. I love that.
You can have more anytime you're hungry. You're just not hungry now. So let's stop.
That's so good. Okay. I'm going to use that one. Thank you.
Okay, good.
So as members of the Mormon Church, which many of my listeners are, our opportunities for pleasure, let's just say, are somewhat limited. We don't drink. We live very, very conservative lifestyles, which is a beautiful, happy way to live. But one of the things that I think happens is that our culture, when we get together for a social occasion, rather than have a drink, we have a piece of chocolate cake. And so we become conditioned to associate, which I'm sure this happens in all cultures, not just the Mormon Church, but we definitely don't have like other options there. We don't even drink coffee. We don't say, let's get together for coffee. We say, let's get together and go out for dessert. So when I haven't done weight loss coaching in the past, but just some of my friends even that I've tried to help with some tools. And I've said, well, cutting out sugar, I know, is a big first step for a lot of people. And it's like, what would I do for fun? So can you talk to me a little bit about just that dynamic and what you do to help clients in that situation?
Well, I'm so glad you brought this up because probably one of my third favorite tools is the joy eating tool. And I think a lot of us, I don't really care who you are, but most of us tend to look for joy in all the wrong places. So to me, if you're eating and you're not paying attention to what you're eating, whatever it is, because I personally believe that you can eat whatever you want. And what I do teach my clients is that you can eat whatever you want too. And if you want a piece of cake, I think you should eat it. But here's the deal. It's how you eat it. So I think that if you're eating something and that is joyful to you and it's not a fuel food, so we distinguish the difference between something that's actually fueling your body, which probably isn't cake.
Mm-hmm.
But what cake has, it does, I think, have a joy factor to it. And I think that you can, if you want, be able to learn, and it is a learning process, that if you don't have a lot of mind chatter about what you shouldn't be eating, which makes you feel bad, which I'm thinking like, when people are passing bread baskets and passing the dessert and trying to get it away from them because they can't control themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What if you said, well, of course, if you would like to have some, go ahead, sweetheart, but really enjoy every single bite.
Mm-hmm.
And so the difference between eating a piece of cake, which might not even mean eating a whole piece of cake, it's taking it bite by bite and enjoying every bite and stopping the minute you're through. That is major to me and to so many people. I mean, probably one of the best tools I ever learned from myself was that you can eat whatever you want, but you've got to enjoy every single bite if there's no nutritional factor to it.
That's good. Yeah, because otherwise we do it with like shame around it or something, and you're not even really tasting it because you're thinking all the thoughts about how terrible and you shouldn't be eating this. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and it
Yeah.
happens so many times. And for instance, shame is such a negative emotion, and it's so strong in the body that what it actually creates, the action of that can be eating even more than one piece of cake. And that's saying to yourself,
Totally. Yeah.
I can't control myself. You start proving things to yourself because you might have a belief system that you can't control yourself, say around cake. So I love to be able to show clients. I remember I had a client who had a problem with gooey butter cake. She said she just couldn't keep it in her house because if she did, she'd eat the whole thing. Another brilliant woman. I mean, brilliant, successful woman who tells me she can't go to the store and get gooey butter cake because she's going to eat
gooey butter cake. That sounds
gooey
delicious.
What? You know what? I love gooey butter cake.
Who knew there was such a thing?
But you know what? I think that if you love gooey butter cake, I think if you would like to eat it, you can. But how much do you need? And when you start telling yourself all you need to do is just pay attention and every bite. And as soon as that factor is gone, you stop. And I will tell you, for myself and for many clients, it might just be 2 or 3 bites.
Yeah.
And you can easily stop, not because you have to, not because you're a bad girl, not because you can't, but because you don't want any more.
I love that.
I don't want it, period. And you give it back because you are done. And when and if you would like more, another day, another time, you will have it again.
So good. Okay, good stuff. What else do you want to share?
Well, I was thinking about, as we're talking about these tools, about why they're so important in menopause.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Yeah, because what I think is that the women that I work with, they've been struggling their whole life, which means they haven't had a good connection with their body in terms of just knowing when to eat and when to stop. And as simple as that sounds, most of the women that I work with have just been on diets to control their weight. So the only thing they know is a diet mentality, which means you eat according to what is being told to you. You do not listen to your body. That is out of the question because we know you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of the women that come to me are either on or they're off. And what I want us to finally, I say us because I was right in the same category, is that there's no on or off. All you need to do is pay attention to your body. And in the beginning, that's the hardest part, is learning to pay attention. Learning to know your own physical hunger and to know your own emotional hunger, to know if you're feeling emotional when you're eating and that you're not physically hungry, or to know that you're physically hungry or you're too physically hungry, which makes you want food that normally you wouldn't want. You start to see yourself in a totally different way. But if you've been doing this your whole life, when you get into menopause and emotions get a lot stronger, what ends up in the mind is that I really can't control myself anymore because everything gets stronger. And what one thinks is they just need a better diet. Because when I went to Weight Watchers for my last time and I was in menopause, I wasn't losing weight the way I used to. And I thought right at that time, I can't do this anymore. I can't go and find another diet and figure out how to do this. I can't do it anymore.
So you have to start listening to your body instead, you're saying.
I started, by weight coaching, by working with a weight coach and being taught what I'm talking about now, that simple thing, like all I have to start doing is asking myself, as opposed to sitting down at a meal and going, okay, well, I've got 10 points.
How am I going to use them?
How am I going to use them? And boy, I'll tell you, there's some very interesting way to use those points. And when I used to go to Weight Watchers, they used to have all of these things that they would sell that they would call them one-pointers.
Right.
So if you would read the ingredients in them, you wouldn't understand what they are.
Right.
1 point. And that's all I cared about was 1 point. Well, I could eat like 10 different things and get 10 points and they were all sweet. And I thought, wow, this is the most fantastic thing that's ever happened, as if this was wonderful. And I think the beauty of being able to free somebody after all of these years, because this is a brain problem and it's a body problem. Because you have a lot of thoughts that you've been thinking for a long time, believing that you can't control yourself around food, believing that you don't have confidence around food, believing that there's something wrong with your body that weight can fix. And you get into menopause and it's like, do you really want to keep thinking those same things? You want to find a new way and start the next half of your life in a totally different way. So it's so much bigger than just weight loss.
Nice. So you believe that you've seen clients be successful who have not been successful before menopause, now in menopause, and they're able to see the success.
Yeah.
Through your program.
Yes. It's like freedom. I don't know what else to call it. They become free. And of course, I work with women who aren't in menopause too. And it's the whole idea of being able to become free from all this mind stuff that you've been telling yourself for so long. And knowing that, yes, it's a physical body issue, but it's also a mental thing too. And they need to be connected. And it is the most freeing thing for anybody when they figure this out for themselves.
So good. And I love the idea of getting to the point, like you're saying, where not only you're free and you get the results you want, but you don't have the battle in your head. Like you can have the basket of bread in front of you and not have that chatter. It's so exhausting. It's exhausting.
It's so exhausting. And it's so, you know what? It's so mean.
It is mean. Yeah.
That you say to yourself when a bread basket is sitting next to you. When I see these brilliant women and looking at the bread basket and just kind of thinking that they're naughty and just thinking that they're not worthy and just thinking that they can't control themselves around a piece of bread. causes so much negative emotion and so much turmoil in their heads that some people will just say, I just want to have peace around food.
Yeah, totally. That is what I want. Peace. I want to feel free from the food, free from the licorice.
Well, my homework assignment would be to you or to anybody. Certainly you can just go ahead and take it out of your diet forever if you want and not eat it. Or you can just say to yourself, of course you can have some, but you just want to take enough to really enjoy it. And how much is that really if nobody puts any rules on you? If there's no rules and you can have it again whenever you want.
That is so much better. Absolutely. And the other thing, and I don't know if this is something you teach, but I find that I can get so hyper-focused on what I shouldn't be eating.
Yeah.
And that resisting of those urges and stuff, that if I redirect my brain to what should I eat? What do I want to eat? What is fuel for my body even? Honestly, there's times when I'm like, I don't even know. Like, what should I eat for lunch? I can't even think. So the more I've tried to direct my brain to what do I want to eat? What is good for me? What is convenient in my day? What will my family also eat? What do I like to eat rather than all the focus on what I'm supposed to not eat? It just it feels better. And it's probably a better use of my brain juice also,
Yeah. And I think as you become more peaceful with food, so what I'm saying is just because I work with people and say you can eat whatever you want, what usually happens is what most of us actually want is to feel good and be healthy.
Yes.
That's what we really want. We don't want to eat cake all day long.
Right.
Given the choice, I don't really think anybody wants to eat cake all day long.
Right.
But when you think you can't have it,
that's what happens.
Your brain kind of tells you, like, I wish I could eat cake all day long like all those skinny people do.
Right.
But really the only difference between what I would call like a naturally thin person, naturally meaning that their brain doesn't do a lot of banter with them, they just eat when they're hungry and stop when they're full,
yeah,
is that they don't care.
It's true. That's my husband.
So they push their food away.
Right.
They leave food on their plate.
Right.
Like, what a phenomenon to leave
amazing, right? To say no to dessert. That's my husband. Yeah.
Because he doesn't care.
He doesn't care because his brain is like, he eats when he's hungry and then he stops when he's full. And he just has that freedom.
Yeah,
so you're saying we can get to that point, that we can recondition ourselves to that point.
Absolutely.
All the work you do in your program, right?
Absolutely. It's all about basically what we call it is rewiring the brain and reconnecting the brain and body back up again. Mm-hmm. And really, in science, it's just called neuroplasticity, that the brain is capable of rewiring itself by thinking differently.
So good. Okay. I love all of this. Might have to have you come back one day for a round 2. I'll have people sending questions and we'll have you come back on. But I want to make sure people know how they can get more help from you. So I know you have your own podcast, right? Tell us about your podcast.
It's called Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond.
Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. Okay. And it's excellent, you guys. I listened to it and I'm not in menopause quite yet myself. And I find it to be very useful. And then any other, what else would you recommend for people who want a little more help from you?
Well, what I offer is I offer a free mini session. It's 30 minutes. And the reason that I offer it is because I like people to be able to get a taste of what it feels like to have your brain coached, because most people have never had their brains coached before, where we take their brain, we look at what they're thinking, and I try to give somebody one helpful thing about what's going on in their brain that's causing them to overeat or to overdrink, and to be able to walk away with something that they can use immediately. And I know that this is possible in 30 minutes, and I offer it for free because I want people to get a taste of what that's like.
So good. I really want to recommend to anybody listening, especially if you have struggled with your weight and you're tired of that struggle and you want to get to that point where you're not counting points or calories or anything like that. You just want to naturally be what, like Deb was talking about, naturally thin. And I just think there's a much better way to utilize your thinking and your energy and your emotions than battling your health and your weight. So if that is you and you're interested in making a change like that, I really want you guys to take Deb up on her offer for a free 30-minute session, because I agree with her. I know that one coaching session can shift everything for you. If you want to work with Deb further beyond that, I know that she'll provide you more information about that. But even if you don't, if you just want some help, I really want to encourage you to take her up on that offer. It's an amazing offer, very generous. Where would people go to be able to sign up for that mini session?
They can go to drdebbutler.com/work with me.
Okay. And we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Great.
Of the podcast. So you can check out the show notes, you guys. Now, are these something that people can just do anytime, or what's your availability?
No, I only offer 3 30-minute sessions a week, and they get filled up pretty quickly.
Okay.
But so, if you want it.
Yeah. So get on there, you guys. Don't delay if you're thinking about it, because I know Deb is busy and you want to get on there before your brain talks you out of it.
Exactly. And so if you need something for your brain to say, the best thing that you can say is, wouldn't it be lovely for me to have some peace around food in 30 minutes?
So good. And I will tell you guys that another thing I love about Deb is that she is direct. Let's be real. Like, she says it like it is, which I personally like, but also like one of the most kind, loving people that there is. So I would not be recommending her to you if I didn't feel really confident that she will take really good care of you if you want to go do a free session. So please take her up on that. Deb, any final thoughts you want to share with us today?
Well, I did think of something, and I want to leave people with this, is that there are naturally thin women, and then there are naturally healthy thin women. And I really believe that if you just learned how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, you would be at a natural weight. I don't know that you would be healthy, depending on what you were choosing to eat.
That's true.
But a naturally thin, healthy person is a woman that chooses the foods that will absolutely make her the most healthy that she can become. And so the difference between how you choose your foods depends on who you want to be.
Oh my gosh, that was inspiring for me. I needed that. My weight is not, I'm pretty naturally thin, but not always naturally thin and healthy, like you're describing. And that's really my challenge, is I can maintain my weight and just eat licorice.
That's right. I mean, but that,
I can.
For women who have struggled, they think that's the ultimatum right there.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not. It's not if you want to be healthy. Now, if somebody comes to me and go, I don't really care about being healthy, I just want to be thin. That's one way to do it.
That is. Well, and that might be a first step for people, though, right? To your point, like just using the hunger scale and eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. And what I would tell myself is, then let me try to make mostly good choices, right? It could definitely make huge progress. Yeah, totally.
Right.
So good. All right. Thank you for coming on here today, Deb. And again, go to Deb's website and check out her podcast, you guys. And again, if we have questions, I might have you come back for a round 2. So
love it. Would love it.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
And as always, please, please don't forget to be very, very, very kind to yourself. You are so worth it. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast with my wife, Dr. Deborah. I've enjoyed working with her and living with her. That's right, we work and live together for 40 years, more than 40 years. It's amazing how time flies. And it's been like a little tree growing in the yard, and now it's a big tree, our love. So I would like to invite you to correspond with Dr. Deborah. Go to iTunes, drdebutler.com/iTunes, and you can review the show, and you can even give some helpful suggestions on what you would like to talk about in the future to accomplish your mindfulness and your journey into mindfulness. Thank you.